Hello again. Guess where I am? Up at the family place on family duty for a few days. House sitting. The oldies, they love travelling by train, and they're taking the GAN from Darwin to Adelaide. They've done the Indian Pacific before. That was a big one. When I lived in Perth, they came over by train. Now they're doing the Darwin to Adelaide GAN. First a leg, they have to get the XPT to Sydney and then fly up to Darwin. So I'm going to drop them at the train station very soon. I'll video that separately because there's a little train surprise I'll package up into a different video. But while I'm here for a few days, I've got a few things to do. I bought a couple of little jobs up from 1101 that I can get done here in my own time. Also want to get out and have a look at 1138, which is the other Eggins Survivor double-decker. It's just over an hour's drive from here. I can hear a train coming, so let's just stay here and wait for that. Welcome to another episode of Steve Stuff. Well, I always like to bring a couple of jobs home if I can, just to give myself something to do if I can't get into the cars and whatnot. And as I told you, I've bought this mirror home. I'm going to get the glass redone, but I also want to try and refurbish the whole thing, which means pulling it apart and working out how to get this. You can see that there's a central, I reckon it's a threaded bolt running all the way down through the middle of that, but I cannot get it to separate from that outer sleeve. As far as the rest of it's concerned, it's just a couple of screws and it all just comes out. Top one, and it comes out, it's got the little threaded part there for the screw to go in. Same on this side, but it's got the threaded part on the top. So while they're off, I'll polish them up. Then I'll get the rubbers out. I'll do that now. Get that glass out, and I'll take it into town tomorrow. I'll take them both in. I might actually give that a drink. I'll get the rubber conditioner onto that. So that's the glass. It's just sitting there as I expected. I'll get them to redo that, and there's the reason why it's all failing: rust. And inside there, I will treat that, hit it with the rust converter, and then just give it a coat of paint. So now that I've got that off, the other job, by the way, I've brought up is this. You may have noticed this before. This sits over the water pump on the near side rear at the engine bay. It's just a hinged panel. It's looking the worst for wear. Easier to give it a paint while it's off. I'll do that while I'm here. So I'm going to get stuck into this now and see what I can work out how to get it apart. Train just went past. What I'm going to try and do is see if I can get in here somehow and separate just enough so that I can bang it through from the other side like that. Did that move? No. All it's doing is just dropping those arms off like that. But now that I can get a hand on this, dang it, it's just not okay. I need another set of vice grips. Righto, I've been going at this for a while. Let me show you what we got here. Where's the bit I cut off? See that? We've got an inner section and an outer section. I tried to split them apart to get that inner section to twist, to no avail. They are rusted together solid. So I cut that end off. I'm going to have to cut each section. The central bit goes all the way through the middle, obviously, from there, and it's a little bent. I'm trying to bang it through, it won't go. And then these sleeve sections are cut to size and they twist around the inner section. So I'm going to have to cut it all apart, buy a new central bit and try and find something that can go around the outside of it. If I can't find the right size, maybe a piece of stainless curtain rod or something will do the job. We'll find out when we get to the hardware, but for now, I need to get this apart and it is not gonna budge. So, choppy choppy. It's a shame to have to do it like this, but I guess it lets me refurbish the whole outside. This should be done in like a satin black, so I'll do it properly once it's all apart. Battery must be getting low when it starts to do that. Yep, it's gone. And there we go. So what I'll do is I'll bang these brackets areas up straight again. Give it all a good wire brush. Get it ready for a coat of paint. And I'll treat the inside as well. And there's what remains of that. Another lovely afternoon here on ye old homestead. This is what I'm up to right now. I've been in town, I've been running around like a buffoon all day. So this is the body of the mirror, which I've started to clean up. This is the rubber, which I've given a bit of a drink, and I'll continue to give it a drink. This is it's an aluminium, it's like a dress finish. I've hit that with the paint stripper and the wheel, and I've got that up. I don't know whether to polish that or to clear coat it. This is the bracket, which I have, as you can see, cleaned up, wire wheeled, ready for paint. And these are the bits that I had to cut off. As you can see, there's a central rod. I'd say that's got a thread on it, and it's surrounded by a sleeve, and each sleeve fits in between each one of these brackets. I've been to the hardware store. This is what I've got. This will go up through that, and that provides the mounting point onto the bracket. And then I have a sleeve here, which I will cut in lengths. That's the plan. So the first job right now is to clean out inside that, and I'll just give it a coat of something just to stop it rusting out again. And then I'll hit this with the wheel again, give it a prime, and get some satin black paint on that. The white stuff is just a reaction to the rust converter that I put in there last night and let soak for a bit. Probably left it in a bit too long, so I'll just clean that out, and then I'll just get some sort of spray can of paint and just give this a coat of paint just to keep the rust away. This is the side that faces the public, so I'll get this done as best as I can, get some primer on it, and then move on to the bracket. Cheap tin of paint I had in the back of the truck. Oh, with a child-proof lid. Trying to get paint on the deck. Let that dry for a minute, give it a second coat, and do the other side. Childproof lid. The other thing I brought home was this. It's around the wrong way. I'll just show you how it works. It's off the side of the bustle. The hinges to the body is locked in with T-keys. It covers over the access to the water pump and the belts, and it's terrible. So easier than painting it on the bus, I brought it with. I'm going to hit it with a stripper wheel right now. I moved from a headquarters up there where I was working. It gets cold really quickly. There's some really tall gum trees at the western end, if you like, of the property, and the shadows get very tall very early in the afternoon. It's only 3 o'clock, and already I was standing there in complete shadow, no sun. There's a wind blowing and it's got some teeth. It's too cold. So I've just moved a bit east down to where near the cars are, and I'm going to keep going on this while I wait for the paint to dry on all the parts of the mirror. I know what you're going to say, I haven't got a mask on. Bugger. It's either up in the ute or I left it in the bus. Back in a minute. Yep, left it in Sydney, but I had to dig around in Mum's car and found a heap of old COVID masks. The challenge was finding one that she hadn't used. This'll have to do. Didn't we look awesome back in the old COVID days? Can't believe we walked around like this. And some people still do. Here's where we're at. Completely stripped and rust free. It had some pretty bad surface rust on it. I managed to get it all off. Quick wipe down with the rust inhibitor, and now I'll just prime that. Oh, I missed a bit. I'll just prime that now. I also went not too hard on the kind of venti bit. I just took off the paint where it was obviously cracking and peeling. Didn't do the other side. I'll just give it a clean, but I will clean up a bit better around those latches and make sure they're all nice and lubricated. So I'm going to, actually the bit I missed, I'll fix that, and then I'll give this a coat of primer. One coat of primer, probably hit it with another one tomorrow, and then I've got some rhodesian cream to go on. And we're satisfying. I've said this before, these little jobs I love, because even though they're only a small part of the puzzle, when they join the big puzzle, it just makes everything look so good. And that's the times I love, when you're putting little bits on that you've spent time on, and then at the end of the job, the jewellery, you know, that's the best part. So I'm going to leave that down here now to dry. The sun is well and truly low in the sky, and it's freezing, so I'm going to pack up. I've just been over with a couple of the cars, brief glimpse to get them running. One of them started, one of them didn't, so I've got the battery charger on that, and that'll be a job for tomorrow morning. Now this was sold to me by the young fella at the hardware as the best satin black that they had. Let's see if he's right. Righto, let's give that some drying time and see what happens. Morning. Another beautiful day. I've been really lucky with the weather here so far. It's sunshine, but the ground is still wet. I still have to wear gumboots everywhere. Anyway, early start this morning because I've got things to do, and today I'm going to try and get out to that other Eggins bus. I haven't rung them. I'm just going to drop in and cold call. It could go a couple of ways. We'll talk about that if I do set off. But right now I want to continue on this mirror and also on that vent. Keep going with the mirror first. That's the exterior with the satin. That's what I've done with the inside, just some gloss black paint to try and ward off any more rust. So what I have to do is cut these sections of this 16mm pipe that will go in there, like so, and they will hold, or they will sleeve, if you like, and protect the threaded rod. So I've got a little bit of cutting to do, a little bit of measuring to do. Let's get stuck into that now. I suppose the good news is I could only get this in a 1 metre length, so I've got plenty to play with if I'm not happy. So there's the first piece, will go in there like that. So that's what we've come up with, if you can see that. So looking okay. They're a little bit uneven, but it's because I tried to straighten a lot of these little protruding bracketry thingies out, but I couldn't get them into the anvil because they were too close together. So did the best I could. Once I get all this in, I'll try and bang them into shape a bit. But there's the theory. Bring that up to about there. And then that attaches to the bracket. So we'll give that a test fit and see how much of this I need to cut. I've gone a bit crazy with the spring washers, but I really want this to be able to smush in nice and tight and hold it. You don't want the mirror swinging around while you're driving. The problem I had with the Merlin when I took it into Bustfest because I couldn't get the bolts as tight as they needed to be. So some spring washers here, and I put a lock nut on the end. Now I nearly buggered this job up. Luckily I went back to the reference of the photos I took before I took this mirror off the bus. I was going to cut this at about here, forgetting that there's another bracket that attaches to the bus that comes up to about here. I'll show you the photo. So that would have been a bit of a disaster. I'm not exactly sure the length of that. This is the piece that ran up to there, and I think this is where I cut the lock nut off. So it's going to be at least longer than that. So I might give that another half length and cut this about here, and then just take it to Sydney and do the final trimming when I get down there. So that was close. I'll keep test fitting this and do some more cutting. And the other thing I'm going to do is run, I've showed you this before, run this bolt all the way down to here so that when I cut and possibly damage the thread, the nut, it will repair it. Here's the theory put into practice. I've cut that, so now just run that nut over that thread a couple of times, because they do get damaged. Little burrs stick up and then they become difficult to get the nut over, but that's done its job nicely. There we go. So that's how much I've left. I've left plenty there, probably a little bit too much, but it's easier to cut some off than to glue some on. All right, now that everything's test fit and seems okay, I'll give everything a coat of paint, including the bracket and that. And then I've got to run into town for a few hours and should all be dry when I get back. There's a railway crossing not too far from here and the wind's blowing the right direction. I just heard him blow his whistle. The XPT's on his way back in, so. Heading into Taree. Had a lot of cool comments on that train video about how nice it is to see, what do you guys call it, the HST or something in the UK? We're still running the XPT. They do break down a lot. They're on their end of life, but it's going to be sad to see them go. And he is bang on time. Right, so there she is. Roughly, I've left plenty of meat on that bone and also the sleeve there. I think it's only going to be about that long, but there's enough there. I've got to remember to take this home with me so that I've got plenty of that. And if I need to run a whole new length, if I've cut it too short, that's all I've got left. But I mean, that was only $4, so there we go. So this here is, if you can see that there, that's kind of weld. I don't know what's going on there. I can't, I mean, I could if I wanted to, but it's only a mirror. This is the best side, so I'll have this side facing out. And that is now all good to undo and paint. This gets done in cream. I'll put another coat on this because I've scratched it a bit. And these will be black. So I'm just going to paint these. I've given them a little rough up with some sandpaper. Young mate at the hardware said the paint is self-priming, so I'm not going to prime them. I'm going to sit them here, paint them, and then leave them while I'm gone. But I'm worried because it's really windy. A little while ago that happened, and that paint takes a little while to dry. So in times like these, you've got to come up with some ingenious ideas. Here's some I prepared earlier. That'll just ensure they stay there, don't blow over while I'm gone. You get the idea. Done. So we'll leave those there for a couple of hours in this sun and wind. They should dry pretty quickly. Now to do these bits in cream that I need to do, I bought that empty tin. I think there's enough in there to get 2 coats onto this stuff just with the brush and the roller, so I'll do the bracket first. Well, again, I had to get a little bit innovative. This is just in its own design very difficult to handle and paint. I'm not going to take these arms off because they are all different, and if I put them on the wrong ones they won't. I'm being lazy basically. So I've just bolted that to a block of wood. The other thing is, while I've been doing that, dust and shit off this tree here has been blowing onto it, so it's not a great day for painting. I'll try and get this done quickly. This stuff takes 24 hours to go off. Well, not 24 hours, it takes a couple of hours. It's oil based. I'll try and put them somewhere where the dust won't get them. Paint seems to be drying quite quickly. I'm not sure if it's the wind. It's very dry air and it's swirling around, maybe because it's full sun as well. But I made a bit of a dog's breakfast of that bracket, and I'm not going to show you because it's hideous, but I'll just let it dry and I'll try and fix it up with a second coat. What happened was it was drying too quick, and then I went over it with the roller and it just kind of puckered all up. It puckered the finish up, went all rough. Not what we want, hopefully. I mean, it's only a mirror bracket, but you know, it all adds to the overall look of the bus, and you know, it's all part of the front. It's the face, as I've said before. It's got to look good. No good having an awful looking bracket when that mirror is going to come up looking great. This one, in the meantime, is much easier, better surface, flat surface. State-of-the-art workshop again. It's funny what we make do with, isn't it? But we do, we make do. Not all of us can afford big expensive sheds with all the right tools. Maybe with a few more subscribers, I might be able to. Righto, that'll do for a first coat. While I've been working over there, I've had the charger on the battery in the FJ Holden. For some reason, the charger's gone through all 7 cycles, but it's not 100% charged, so I think battery might be kaput, but join me while I try and get it started. I tried it last night. The EH always starts first go, and it did. This one's not bad, but it wouldn't kick over before the battery drained. We'll see how we go. Might need a new battery. Well, that's not promising, but I'm seeing something that I always see. When I have been away for a while, and that's the needle and seat. Looks like it's stuck, so I'll just tend to that. Just had to go and get my diagnostic tool. Okay. Try again, although it sounds like we've drained the bloody battery down a bit too far. Yep, drained it down too far. And that's still dripping, is it? No, that's just a bit of, I don't know, plan B. So there's fuel in the pump, there's fuel in the filter. There's obviously fuel getting to the carburetor. Just not enough guts to kick her over. I'll try one more time and then I'll probably have to charge it up for another few hours. What I love about this car is how smoothly it idles once it starts. Alright, I'm going to let that run. I'll go and pack up my tools and get ready to head into town. Steel train. Well, we're on our way out to hopefully have a look at this other bus. I was going to go out and see if they'll let me give them some more money to grab a couple of things that I need off it. I need the safety railing along the near side and the upper windows. They put them there to stop kids hanging their heads and arms and limbs out on that side only, which is where you're going to get, you know, your arm ripped off if your bus hits a shop awning or something. Mine have been removed. This one has most of the bars and all of the brackets. I started to take them off last time we were here, but it was just a really hot day and I was with someone else and we were just getting overwhelmed by the heat. Those things are like a hot box. Anyway, I'm going to keep the location a secret. All I'll tell you is it's somewhere between Taree and Gloucester. It's about a 50-minute drive from where I am. So I've already been through Taree and I'm just coming up to Wingham now. I've got to stop at the ATM, get some money out. It could go a couple of ways. They might not be home. If that's the case, it is a working farm, so you know there's an 80% chance that it'll be there somewhere. If not, I'll try and call him because I don't want to trespass without their permission. 2, it might be too wet. It's been very, very wet up here of late, to the point where nothing can dry. Water sits on top of everything, and if I've got to get through a cow paddock to get access to it, if that's too wet, there's a chance the truck will get bogged, or he might just even say, no, you're not going in there. And also there's a creek. If the creek's running with a lot of water, I won't be able to get across it. 3, they could just say no. Or 4, he'll let me go for my life. So hopefully it's number 4. They're lovely people. I doubt it'll be number 3, and fingers crossed for the other 2. So I'm going to enjoy the drive, the beautiful scenery, similar to what I saw in the train the other day, and we'll see what happens when I get to the other end. Right, I just got the cash out, and I'm just going to, while I'm in Wingham, I just want to run out and have a look at a place for sale. I've always got my eyes open for something, you know, that I can retire to in a few years. You might have been wondering what this thing is. On there, it's a shoulder brace. I bought it. I'm my own worst enemy, honestly. Every now and then it's healing nicely, but every now and then I'll make a sudden move and I hurt it and it swells up again. And if I can get into the bus now, I've got to drill a lot of rivets out, so there's the opportunity to hurt it, so I'll put the brace on, if you're wondering what that is. It also smushes everything up, gives me a nice set of tits too, doesn't it? And it's cold today. My eyes are up here, mate. Anyway, let's go out, see how we go, see if we can't pick a double-decker. Look at this beautiful countryside. Good news, they were home. Gooder news. They said, yeah, go for it. Take the whole thing if you can. I'll show you that won't be easy anymore, because over the years, this thing was towed. It's got no motor. It was towed. The original owner said he towed it across the creek with his tractor, and his young daughter was steering it. I reckon over the years that creek has eroded and the sides, the banks are a lot steeper than they were back then, but can you see it? There she blows. Eggins double-decker. And I'm going up there to get some stuff off it. I've just got to get across there, carrying tools and things, up to there. This will be fun. Okay, got across the creek all right. Now, as you can see, we're climbing quite a steep hill here, bank. Now imagine trying to get a bus through here, through those 2 trees. I reckon those trees have grown since it was put there. Look at that. Imagine you'd have to pull it. You'd have to have one on either side, front and back. So you'd have to get around this corner here. And there she is. So let me just show you that from this direction. Trying to get a 10-metre bus around that corner with tractors, I don't know. She said she'd really like to see it saved and not rust away. I agree, but for the time being, I think that, I don't know, is doable. It's just amazing, isn't it? There's a lot of trees around. I couldn't get too close with the drone. So let me just show you around this side particularly. It's all there. I've already taken the desto rolls out of it, and I took a trace of that front Eggins there, as I've told you about before. This isn't actually an active cow paddock, so I've got to be careful of cow bombs. So that's the owner's worried that it's rusting away, and I assured her that it's all aluminium. It's been here by this creek for a long time, but the chassis still looks okay. All that sign writing still, it's just amazing, isn't it? And all you're seeing is just lichen and organic growth. It obviously doesn't get a lot of sun here. She's sunk down. See, the chassis doesn't look too bad. All the drivetrain is gone. What I do want to do is try and get a trace of that there. Mine's no good. I'll do that while I'm here. Think of anything else I need. I mean, the lights and everything. I don't want to make it look like it's been picked clean on the outside. I just need things that are on the inside. So let's have a look on the inside. Pretty much emptied out by the original owner. He told me that he burnt all the seats, which is a shame. A lot of things missing. There's some still around. The story is, it was the Eggins parts bus. And one day, John, the original owner of the property, was delivering something, I think he said to me, to Eggins's, and asked them, what's with the double-decker? And they said, if you can get it out of there, it's yours. So he went and got a tow truck and he had it towed here. That was about 1994. It's been sitting here ever since. A lot of people think that 1138 disappeared to the west. It obviously didn't. We think 1178 is the bus that went to Western Australia and has been lost. So look, there's a lot of stuff that's missing. There is some stuff that is still here that I'm not going to take. I don't want to pick it clean. It's just, it's a survivor. You know, it's in as decommissioned condition, I guess you could say, minus the seats. Let's go upstairs. As they did in my bus, Eggins decommissioned the step counter. These two steps used to move on a pivot and it'd count your steps. They obviously deleted that feature, and here we are upstairs, full of rat poop, and there is what I want, these things. So we made a start on getting them out last time I was here, and it was just too hot. We gave up. So look at this. I mean, it's not even damp, you know? It's crazy. Absolutely amazing. Well, I'm going to get to work. Excellent. Extra rivets. Oh, careful. Careful, careful. Now, obviously this is too long to fit in the car. The last time she was registered, February 1993, that ran out. So, farewell 1138 until next time. Thank you for donating bits and pieces to the restoration of your sister, 1101. Now I've got to try and A, carry all this over the creek, and B, actually get that in the car. I might have to cut some more sections. Righto, let's again look at the job of anybody trying to get this out. So you've got to come out past, well, you have to go backwards first and then out past that tree and that shed. And then down here, being towed, mind you, I'm not sure if even the steering would work still. But then you've got to come around this tight bend here between these two big trees, which I don't think were probably there when the bus was brought in. Around here, and then down that precarious, I mean, the video doesn't show you how steep that is, across the creek and then back up that steep side. It's probably doable, but it wouldn't be cheap and it wouldn't be easy. Back from out picking the bus, I've given those a second coat of the satin black. This had dust on it and I went to get rid of the dust and put a scratch, so I'm not happy with that now. Gonna have to sand that back and start again. And the bracket, it's got it sitting there at the moment. Not happy with it either. This surface is terrible. I'm going to have to sand that back. The paint's still kind of tacky. It'll be a tomorrow job, so bummer. One of the other things besides the side rails that I saved was this seat back. I've got one that's in pretty good condition. This one is the correct colour. Has a couple of imperfections, but it just seemed to be a shame to leave it there to rot for another 30 years. So I'm going to clean it up and see if it's better than the one I have. If it is, I'll switch them out. That's cleaned up okay. I'll give it a bit of a scrub. They all seem to get this burn along the bottom. Don't know what that's from, but oh, love heart. Maybe it's the seat loves me for saving it. Actually, no, it looks more like my handprint. So there she is. I'll give it a scrub. That's just a couple of wipes with those sugar wipe thingies. Let's just turn it over. You know what I'm going to be looking for here. See if we can see anything written on the back, and no. Remember, mine's got 1101 on the back of it, but this does not have any marking at all. That's odd. So that seat cushion's come up pretty well. I've just given it a good soak in the vinyl and rubber care that I like, the Glims, what's it called? Auto Glim. It's great stuff, I love it. So I'm going to let that cook for a little while, and I'm actually starting to think I might actually put this in 1101. It's out of a sister ship, and that's a better representation of the original colour. The sun's well and truly across the yard arm. There is the, that's the whole extension of the rails stretched out. I had to cut them to get them in the car, but I cut them at the bracket. So I can use a piece of dowel to join them, and then the bracket will hide the join. That's my crafty plan. Anyway, beer o'clock, maybe some YouTube and a movie. Next day, another beautiful sunny day and not windy. So I wasn't happy with the way this bracket turned out. I know I've said before, it's only a mirror, it's only a bracket, but I think yesterday what I did was I think I painted a second coat over a first coat that wasn't quite dry, simply because it was so cold yesterday, and it didn't bubble up, but it just didn't look right. So I've stripped it all the way back again, just about to give it a wipe over and start again with this. Also, I just missed a call, but the voicemail was a very happy one. It was the glass place telling me that my two mirrors that they're cutting for me are ready. So I'll go and pick those up when I go into town. I've got to go into the hardware to buy a couple more tubes to fix that railing up and do a few other things in town, pay rego on one of the cars and whatnot. So I'll be able to finish this mirror today, hopefully, and have a finished product to show you. Okay, that's all that needs now. Let it dry. This afternoon I'll put a second coat on it and we should be almost good to go. All I got to paint out, might as well just tidy up these arms. little bit excited, just got back from town and picked up the new mirrors. So that's the old one, new one looks good. This one's the loading mirror from inside the bus. It was in bad condition, so I thought I'd get it done as well. So just over $100, $110 for those, which I think is reasonable considering it's, you know, they've been well cut. I'm also supporting local business. I like to get stuff done up here where I can. There are both the mirrors. The inside one, the little one, for the loading at the door, and that's the side mirror on the near side. Both ready to go back to doing their job properly. Beautiful new mirror glass. The good thing about my modular workbench is that it's portable. So when the sun goes behind a cloud or behind a tree, I can just move my workspace so I can sit in the sun. Now, these are the brackets that came out of 1138 the other day on the farm. There are 8 of them, and some of them are in okay condition. Others are in terrible condition. I mean, how many rivets do you need? That one's actually bent. What I'm going to do, and I've already started, I've done 2 of them, is just use this paint stripper wheel, pull all the paint off, clean them up as best I can, and then I can paint them when I get back to Sydney and put them in. I also bought a few new bars when I was at the hardware today, so between that lot I'll get the best of them in to 1101. Big difference. Cleaned them both sides, ready for paint when I get them back to Sydney. Last thing I do today, the paint is finally dry enough that I can put things together. Here is the mirror and the bracket and all the hardware. Let's try and get this together. Okay, so the jigsaw goes something like that, I think, to there. So let's undo that. So 1 spring washer, 2 spring washer, nut on there, and then a lock nut. This is all obviously just to show you what it's going to look like. This won't be finished until I get back to Sydney and get it on the bus. So there's that, and then that attaches to the, I think it goes on the inside to there. Like so. All nice and stainless, and if I couldn't get stainless, I've got zinc plated, which should resist the rust as well. Looks a little something, oh. That one's supposed to go there. Righto, that's okay. This one up here, right, just need a little bit of persuading. So again, that one to there, 2nd spring washer. Now this attaches to the top bracket, which I'm not sure how much I'm going to need, so I've left a little bit more than I think I'm going to need so I can cut it down when I get home. Now, this one, this has all got to come off. Let's put this one on first. Then another spring washer, and then you. And we'll throw another spring washer in for good measure. Can all be readjusted later. Right, just enough there to get that lock nut just started. Now, it looks to me like I've done this wrong, doesn't it? Oh, I have. Okay, yep. You're doing this with me. You're messing it up with me. That goes there. So, spring washer. Should there be a lock nut? No, it's all right. Spring washer there. Actually, I do think there should be one. a nut there. So let's get a nut in there, and then that's the one that clamps down. I don't know if I'm doing this right or not. We'll see how it looks when it's done. If it looks stupid with two nuts, I'm sure there was a lock nut. Maybe it was under here. See if this works. If it doesn't work, I'll fix it up tomorrow. Right, and then that, and then that, and then another one of those nuts, and then that goes through there. One at the top, one at the bottom, from memory. Might go belt and braces with the spring washers again. What do you reckon? Through there. And then that on there. That on there. And that should be how she goes together. So get that nut on. Come on, don't be a chode. There you go. Now obviously that's all just finger tight, but can you see that? How does that look? Doesn't that look great? Very happy with that. So let's just slip this top doodah on there, cap it off with one more nut to keep it there for the trip home. And we're good. And there you can see those three pieces that I cut and painted, they fit in there nicely. And then once it's all up, tighten everything up nice and tight, and the pressure going that way should keep it all from moving around. And there she is. So I picked that up, lean it up against that tripod there. How's that look? So that's how she'll look on the bus. So good. And other side with the nice new mirror glass. So that's the driver's view. That's how she'll look looking at the front of the bus. So bracket bolts to the bus, and that bracketry there keeps the mirror steady. The next time you see me, I'll be standing in front of the bus. Like this. So I'll have a go at getting that mirror test fit, get all the angles and everything right, and work out what sort of plate I'm going to put behind it, maybe a rubber gasket as well. I'll get that hinged water pump access panel. I'll get that on this afternoon with some brand new stainless steel nuts and bolts. I got the afternoon free. Don't have to work until tomorrow morning. I was going to fluff around a bit. So if you remember the bracket, it had two holes at the bottom. They have a, looks like a captive nut or a nut rivet in behind them. I've kept those screws. And then further up there were two smaller holes which were rivets, and then there were the bigger ones which had obviously the same as this setup, but you can see they've pulled through. Now, I don't know, I don't think I've got a rivet big enough for that hole. So I could put a plate over the top of that. I'm going to think on it. While I think about the mirror, I can put this puppy back on there. I've just given that a tidy up, clean up. It'll all get painted at some point, and I'll put the cover on now, but it'll come off again because I'm going to put all brand new bolts on there. You can see there's the original paint. See how much it's faded. First attempt of putting it on. What a plonker. The hinge folds back in on itself. That's more like it. Beautiful. Well, there she is. I'm just doing a bit of a test fit, and as you can see, as I mentioned, that top bracket there, lucky I left a lot on there. It's got to come down to there, and then everything tightened up. I'll probably put another plate behind here. Won't do it today, and tidy these bolts up. Obviously, with a new plate under there, I can then re-drill some holes and get some nut rivets under that. Anyway, I'm going to fiddle around with this now. She's test fit, she's tight, I've got to paint the bracket above it, and I'll do that when I paint that panel above the door. That's the panel that protects the door opening mechanism. That's what the mirror looks like. Come up all right, isn't it? That's what it looks like from here. And from the driver's position, I don't know about you, but I like to be able to see my rear wheel, or at least the top of the rear wheel. Oh, and there's that other mirror I had done. I'll put that on now. Saturday afternoon, I finished work, just came straight down here. I've just pulled the bus out so I can get the ladder up the side of it. I want to mask off these windows now and get that ready to paint down to that second stripe, the bottom one there. I don't know if you can see over there, but it is absolutely blowing a gale here today. It's not a painting day, even though I'm not spraying. If I was to put wet paint on this thing, it'd be black by this afternoon, just the amount of dust. So, a few little jobs to do inside. Don't forget, I still have to finish doing that bottom blue there on both sides. I gave these a quick coat. These are the brackets for the upstairs guard handrail thingy that I got off 1138. So I'll give them a second coat today. And that's the other thing upstairs. While I had that brush wet, I attacked that central thing there in the top window, and I'll give that a final coat today just to tidy up that area as we spoke about. So a few little odd jobs to get done today. Tomorrow the weather's going to be good, and I should get that entire area on the near side painted, and I'll also finish up adjusting that mirror. As usual, I couldn't help myself while I was upstairs second coating that window pillar. I took the bus stopping light. I'll give that a tidy up. It let the whole area down pretty much. I've just got to work out how to get the lens out. I think that's some sort of ring there that's holding it in. It's an example of just the little details help the big picture. This is that centre column in the front window that was all rusty, and the blue light was all rusty and no good. The corners and the frame were looking out of date and terrible. I'll try and find a photo of how it looked, and that's just not much time at all. I refurbished the light as well, took it all out, repainted the body, repainted the diffuser, brand new screws. I'm going to leave it like that. I did think about trying to get one of the original ones. I don't know who changed this. It could have been Chalora at the overhaul workshops. It could have been Eggins. Maybe a kid broke it, and they did have spares of these because they had the half cab deckers at Eggins as well that these were in. I mean, I've shown you before, but this is what it should probably have up there. 1138 didn't have any that were any good, so I'm going to leave that in the spirit of the bus as it was decommissioned. And a little bit of paint, a little bit of time and elbow grease, and that front area there has come up a treat. That's where everyone runs to when they jump on one of these things for a ride. So now it's pleasant. Another area I've had to go at this afternoon is this doorway, centre door. Unfortunately now with new paint, the doors look bloody raggedy. I don't know what to do there. Also did these panels. I wasn't going to do the door, but it did look silly. So that's come up nicely. A couple of other things that I saved from 1138 that are going to be repurposed are these step lights. This is the centre door step light, dinted. The lens is okay, but it's dinted, so that's before. And the front step light, which is, I mean, it looks like a blind dog's eyeball, doesn't it? The actual ring, the chrome, it's got a little bit of a dent in it. Might be good enough for something else, but that's before. Much nicer. I've got to redo the floor. That'll get done eventually, but that looks great. And that's the rear one after. A little bit of a ding at the top, but better than what was there. And that's going to do it tonight. This wind is just so gusty and cold. There's dust everywhere and it's freezing. So I was going to mask up the side of the bus to get it ready for paint tomorrow. It just would have blown off overnight. So I'm going to go home, see you in the morning. Much better day. Still a little breezy, but not as bad as yesterday. Man, that was gusty. You can see I've got the ladder out, I've got the bus out. I'm going to get paint on that side, hopefully by the end of the day, and that will do this video because tomorrow technically is my first day back at work. Even though I worked yesterday, tomorrow is my first day back. So this is my last full day of working. Going to get stuck straight into it. Ready to paint. I've just got to fix a couple of rivets. I've got a couple of loose panels here here that it's probably best to try and fix them now. So I'll just do that and then crack on with some painting. First coat. Down to the bottom of the windows, just to the stripe. I can't do the bottom yet because most of the way around, a lot of those bottom panels have got dings in them that I'd like to fix. That'll need a couple of hours, although in this full sun it might dry off pretty quickly, but I've got another job I can do while I'm waiting. A hint as to what I'm up to. Can you see that? I've been busy. I'm waiting for this paint to dry. Masking, I've said it before, you've got to do it properly, or you'll just regret it later. Luckily, the original Eggins stripe, or all of them actually, are a little bit on the piss. A little bit thick here, a little bit thin there, so I've just followed their line. I've got to do that second one there too. I'll try and get that done today. But I've just followed their line. Adds to the authenticity. If it's a little bit wobbly, so be it. The hardest one to get right was up under that vent. All the way around with the top stripe. Let that dry, and second coat time for that cream. The last thing I want to do to round out this video is to show you the hand railings in place. So at the moment I'm just putting the brackets in and just kind of loose fitting the rods. Now I came across a problem here. I mean, none of these things fit. Just because a part is from an Atlantean doesn't mean it's going to fit another Atlantean. They're handmade. You've got to do a bit of jerry rigging. Anyway, came across this. All of these holes are way too flogged out to take a rivet. So I cut a piece of aluminium just to make a plate, go over the top, rivet into that, and then drill new holes. So I did that, gave it a paint, and then I put it there in the wrong spot. So now I've got to make another one, which is why I have this in my hand, and put it there where it was supposed to go. It's been a long day and I think I'm getting a little bit brain dead. And there we are, just sitting there. I've still got to come back and tidy up, put some more rivets in, get those bars nice and secure. But that's, oh hang on, I've got one out because that's too long. Okay, we'll fix that later. I can see what's happened. All right, we've got live television here, folks. There we go, push that forward. And then that one, perfect. There we go. So that's just about it. I've got one more thing I want to show you though. Stripes. Not all. I can't do the near side because that new cream paint's too fresh to put masking tape on. There is some bleed from the tape. It doesn't matter how expensive the tape or how good you do it. Most of it I'm not going to worry about because it's too far up to notice, but there are some bad bits. Had to stop there because the cream was wet. So there's just a little bit of striping to do, and then I can start on the lower panels, but the lower panels need some body work. There's some dents and things. There's how that mirror finished up. There's the rails. Well, that's it for this video. It's a little bit long, I'm sorry. I noticed it was getting long, so I didn't film any of the painting and stuff today. You've seen me painting enough times. You've seen the back of my head and my bum up a ladder enough times. If you want to see my bum up a ladder again, send me a private message and a current photo. I'm really happy with the way it turned out. Looks great. We've got a lot done. I've been all around the world in this video. We've been up home, got that stuff done up there for the bus. I decided not to show you the cars. I was going to do a cars video, and I just thought it's probably not a good idea. YouTube's a bit public for people to see. I mean, you guys are fine, but there are undesirable elements out there in the internet. And I thought if anyone worked out where we live and knew what was there, it could end badly. So I didn't do the cars. You saw a little glimpse of the two Holdens, and that's enough. So that's it. Really happy with what we picked off 1138. It's a shame it's out there. We'll do our best to try and get it out of there at some point. The owners of the farm now really want to save the bus and not let it rot. And it is, even though it's been there for 35 years, it is starting to show signs of rust.
The frames are galvanised, but they do fail over time. So once again, thank you for staying till the end. I really appreciate the comments, and I appreciate you watching. Like and subscribe if you haven't, and I'll see you on the next episode. I don't know what I'm going to do on the next episode. I'll finish the stripes on the near side, might even start on some of the logos, some of the sign writing. We'll see how the weather goes. Next weekend is forecast to be rainy. Fingers crossed for that. I'll catch you next time on Steve Stuff. You notice my shoulder's okay now? Oh, a little bit okay now?